Crow brushed himself off, his gun never wavering from Tom, Kate, and Savannah. In the limited cave light, he appeared taller, his eyes menacing. Strangely enough, he let out a grunt instead of speaking a word. From Tom's viewpoint, Crow struck him as someone incapable of independent thought. His disturbing stare shifted to Benson, who lay stretched out on his stomach, face smeared with dirt, his back rising and falling rhythmically with each breath. Tom, standing just 5 feet away, began mapping out his next move. If Benson regained consciousness before they seized control, they were doomed. Crow used his foot to nudge Benson's shoulder, only to let the man flop back into the ground. Tom jolted reflexively, an ill-timed feint. Instantly, Crow swung the gun back on target, his nostrils flared and his eyes narrowed, teetering on the edge of full-blown madness. With a groan that climbed in pitch, he advanced, ramming the muzzle against Tom's nose. Behind Tom, Kate gasped while Savannah whimpered. Tom couldn't shake the image. Crow seemed like a killer controlled by Benson, or perhaps just a rabid pit bull let off its leash. And this beast was frothing, ready to tear someone apart. He drove Tom backward, the barrel now pressing against his forehead, forcing Kate and Savannah further down the passageway, deeper into the cave. Savannah let out a scream. Kate repeated, "Please no," as they neared the gold chamber. Both mother and daughter tripped and went down. Tom staggered but stayed upright as Crow craned his head back with the gun's barrel. Suddenly, Crow stiffened. He stepped away, lowering the weapon from Tom's forehead, leaving behind a sore imprint. He'd caught a sound from deeper in the tunnel. Tom's chest tightened. Benson must be stirring. With the gold already in hand, the others no longer needed their guide or his family. Heavy footsteps echoed from the cave's entrance. Tom cast a glance down the passage. Benson was still unconscious. Someone else was approaching. As the intruder closed in, Crow edged away toward the sound, turning to face it. Tom seized the moment. He lunged, gripping the gun hand and forcing it aside, slamming his shoulder into Crow's chest. The sidekick stumbled backward and crashed beneath Tom's charging weight. Tom was fueled by fury and resolve. He pounded Crow's hand against the cave floor repeatedly until the man's grip began to weaken. Shifting into a dominant position, Tom drove his elbow into Crow's throat, cutting off his windpipe as he worked the pistol free. Crow's eyes ballooned, his face flushing red, then pale at the edges. With a guttural growl, Tom summoned every ounce of power to unpry the gun from those slick fingers. At last, he tore it free, raising it high while keeping his elbow jammed into the man's neck. Crow let out a strangled puff before going limp. His bluster had been just that bluster. He clearly favored terrorizing women and kids over confronting real opposition. Gingerly, Tom let up, rolled off the unconscious brute, and got to his feet. Every fiber in his body begged him to collapse, but just then a pilot appeared around a turn in the tunnel. The man froze, stunned by the sight of his downed companions. Tom, swaying as if seasick from exhaustion, pointed the weapon shakily. "Once your friends wake up," he warned, "you're flying us all to Bono's to the authorities." The pilot nodded obediently, bald head bobbing as he raised his hands in surrender. "Got anything we can use to secure these guys?" "There's some duct tape stashed in the chopper," came the reply. "Perfect," Tom said with a nod. Maybe now he could ease up just a little, allow himself a moment to relax. But deep down, he knew true relief wouldn't come until they were off this mountain, clear of the jungle and safely back in Texas. As the pilot carefully secured Benson and Crow's wrists with duct tape, standing guard, Tom cast a fleeting glance at Kate and Savannah. A flash of an alternative, far darker conclusion to their story flickered through his mind. What if everything had spiraled out of control? Dread clenched his heart at the thought of his little girl in jeopardy, or worse, Kate wounded in the melee. He envisioned himself carrying Kate out of the cave toward the waiting helicopter, gun fixed on the pilot, Savannah tightly clutching his shirt. Blood slowly bloomed through Kate's top with every step. A surge of sorrow, remorse, and terror converged into a suffocating, painful knot in his chest. His throat closed up. Pain radiated through his torso. His eyes welled, tears on the brink of falling. Climbing into the chopper behind the pilot, Tom hoisted Kate onto the back bench. He stooped for Savannah, picked her up, and carefully settled her next to Kate, laying the girl's head gently on his lap. The pilot, meanwhile, busied himself with takeoff procedures, flipping switches, tapping buttons. The rotors gained speed, noise building around them. Tom looked upon Kate's barely lucid face. In that disturbing mental scene, he had executed Benson and Crow. He wasn't a killer, but what if he had crossed that line? What if his wrong move had cost Kate her life? That chilling possibility of having to raise Savannah alone ran through him like a frost. Tom, snap out of it, Kate's voice cut sharply, dragging him back to the present. We've got to go. Tom shook his head, drawing in air. Yeah, right. Okay, he aimed the firearm he'd taken from Eddie toward a badly bruised Benson. Start walking. Now, Kate had possession of Benson's weapon while Tom had tucked Crow's gun into his waistband beneath his shirt. They moved forward slowly but steadily. The pilot boarded ahead. Kate and Savannah climbed into the front passenger seat. Urging his prisoners along with jabs of the gun, Tom herded them toward the side of the helicopter. After maneuvering Crow inside, he gave Benson a push forward, only for the man to abruptly spin around, wrenching his taped wrists apart. Tom had underestimated him. During the restraint process, the pilot had covertly passed Benson a 6-inch blade, Tom's own knife, the very one taken from him before they abandoned him in the jungle. Taken by surprise, Tom didn't hold the gun securely. Benson slapped it from his grasp. It spiraled toward the ledge and vanished into the abyss. Before Tom could act, Benson slammed into him with a shoulder tackle, sending them both sprawling. Desperately, Tom fought for control of the knife hand, grabbing it as they hit the dusty earth. Now flat on his back, he felt the point of his own weapon edge toward his throat. Benson leaned in, baring his teeth, forcing the blade down with all his weight. Tom's eyes widened. With a growl, he threw Benson off, scrambled upright. Quickly recovering, Benson lunged again, slashing his knife at Tom's abdomen. Backing up, Tom realized he was being cornered against the cliff. Benson smiled coldly. Come on, Logan, you fight like you were in the Cub Scouts. I was a scout once, Tom answered, and I picked up a few things. Like what? I like using your head when it's life or death. With that, Tom pulled out the spare handgun hidden under his shirt. Benson puffed out air, grimacing before forming a wicked grin. Looks like you got the upper hand. Then, with a swift motion, he flung the knife at Tom. The handle ricocheted off his shoulder without causing harm, but the momentary distraction granted Benson a critical advantage. In a haze of dust stirred by his rapid footsteps, Benson barreled into Tom once more, driving them both to the ground, their bodies sliding dangerously toward the steep drop behind. Struggling furiously, Benson maneuvered on top of Tom, pinning him flat. He clutched at the hand holding the gun and forced it away from his head. Tom's gaze shifted to his side, spotting his knife catching a glint of sunlight. Benson was nearly successful in wresting the pistol away. Tom reached out desperately, fingers scrabbling in the dirt. The knife's handle brushed his fingertips, its pointed edge rotating toward him. His dislocated shoulder flared with fiery pain, a remnant from 2 days earlier as he pulled the weapon closer. With effort, he realigned the knife's grip. Bit by bit, his fingers dragged it near. So close, he growled with effort. Then, in a flash, he grabbed the hilt and jammed the blade into Benson's throat. Benson's eyes widened in stunned disbelief as a trickle of blood seeped out, then began to pour freely over his neck and drenched his collar. Clutching at the wound, he collapsed face first into the dirt, knife still clenched in Tom's grip. Benson convulsed violently, a deeper stream of blood soaking the earth. A leg gave a last involuntary jerk. Then he was unsettlingly motionless. Seconds passed in silence. The truth settled over Tom like an oppressive weight, robbing him of breath. He had taken a man's life. He had truly killed someone. But a surge of gritty determination surged within him. There was no time to dwell on it. Reeling but composed, he scrambled to his feet and dashed toward the waiting helicopter. As arriving at the open side door, he felt a rush of relief at the scene. Kate had managed on her own during his absence. Benson's ally remained tied on the rear bench, and Kate still had the pilot under guard. With the threat neutralized, Tom exchanged a look with Kate and let out a weary breath. What do you say we get this bird airborne and head somewhere with decent air conditioning?